An incredibly brave whistleblower named Dawn Wooten has been talking about the conditions at the Irwin County Detention Center in Georgia, talking about how ICE has been callously indifferent to the COVID spreading in this facility, as well as a number of additional, almost like the treatment of these individuals that are being detained here is like out of a horror movie. So we're gonna walk you through some of this. So Dawn Wooten says that her own health was imperiled while working at Irwin during the outbreak. She has sickle cell anemia, and although she told her supervisors her doctor had warned her that exposure to the coronavirus could be deadly, management at Irwin neglected to tell her that detainees she had contact with were symptomatic, and in 3 cases had tested positive for COVID-19. So they knew that these people could spread it. They knew that she had one of those comorbidities that makes it more likely that you'll die, but they didn't care to protect her life. Now, I can't say that for sure this is because this is a private detention center run by LaSalle Corrections, but they do have a record of caring far less about human life than others. Now, how widespread is the pandemic there? According to ICE, 31 people detained at Irwin have tested positive for COVID-19 since the pandemic began. But the whistleblower suspects that there were most likely at least 50 by early July when she was demoted based on the number of detainees she personally knew who had tested positive and what she'd heard from colleagues. And by the way, that virus also spread among staff. According to Wooten, more than 15 LaSalle employees she knows personally have been infected with COVID-19. She provided the names of at least a dozen staff members, including both correctional staff and healthcare workers who tested positive. And the situation was so dire that detainees had to begin to make their own masks out of whatever material they could actually track down. LaSalle offered the masks by late April. So, after 6 or 7 weeks of the nationwide lockdown, provided not by the company, but donated by a local church group. But one detainee said the masks have not been replaced unless a family member pushes ICE and LaSalle for a new one. So they waited almost 2 months. They gave them a mask after the pandemic had already rampaged through the detainees at this facility. And that is possibly not even the scariest information that this whistleblower revealed to us, Gary.
It is clear, and I can't understand why Trump's numbers with the Hispanic population are where they are because of his treatment of their people, right? That what he allows to be done in these detention centers, what he's done at the border, how he's handled immigrant populations of people is so disrespectful. It's immoral. It's inhumane. But it's Trump, right? It is him. It is him in his fullness, and it is America in its fullness. It is not new for America to mistreat people that they see as less than. It is not new for America to allow people to sit in prisons or in cages, in filth, or in where they don't have proper health care, right? And the truth is, it is the government's job, once you detain someone, to take care of their health and welfare while you're detaining them, because you have detained them, right? You have taken them out of the ability to care for themselves and place them into your detention. And so while they are in your detention, it does not mean that they should be treated less than human. It does not mean that because you feel they broke a law or whatever it is that they are somehow subjected to mistreatment by officers or not being provided the simple humanity of a mask, right? If Trump's around here saying, "Oh, we're gonna beat this thing and we've got all of the supplies that we need," right? America has more than enough masks and we've got ventilators that we can borrow, we can lend ventilators to other countries and things of that nature now. But you can't even make sure that people who you're detaining in ICE detention centers or prisons have masks, right? The same thing was happening for people who were detained in Mississippi jails, that when the coronavirus happened, those people didn't have masks. And what it says is that they don't value these people's humanity. And the thing that bothers me the most about where we are as a country right now is it makes me question, where is our humanity? Where is, at the very core, forget your politics, forget your ideology. just how we treat people. Human decency is escaping us as a country right now. And it is in large part because we have a commander in chief who does not care about the basic humanity of people, of all people. Regardless of what you have done, nobody deserves to be more exposed to a virus. And guess what? It costs us more money as a country when we then have to provide extended health care to these people once they are sick. Yep. It is cheaper to buy a face mask than it is to care for somebody who has asthma, who then catches the coronavirus and has to be placed on a ventilator.
100%.
And for conservatives who say fiscal responsibility, everything about how Donald Trump and conservatives have handled this pandemic has been fiscally irresponsible. And it is not just costing the American people their lives, it is costing us money that we will never be able to get back. I don't care how much he talks about how strong the economy is. America is in a weak state right now because our humanity is at one of the weakest points that it has been at in decades.
Yeah. Yeah, and like politics isn't, if it ever was, it isn't, should the corporate tax rate be at 35% or 33% or 38%? It's, does this class of people merit any compassion whatsoever? Do these people, do their lives have value? And a significant portion of the country thinks no, they don't. So The Intercept did a great job of publishing what this whistleblower had to say. The whistleblower did great work, and so we will help to spread it. That's our job. And for a very significant portion of the country, they will hear this and think, good. I don't want them to spend money on these masks. I don't want them to receive medical care. They shouldn't have broken the law. They shouldn't have broken the country. If you're in prison, well, that's just that's on you. Shouldn't have been in prison. Really? That is the gap, the moral gap in our country is who merits any concern whatsoever. When a hurricane rampages through X area, do we have to care about that? Well, I'm gonna need to know more about those people. That's what many millions of Americans think. Do people in prison, should they be allowed to vote? No, why? Because they won't vote for me. They don't count anymore because they can't give me what I want. That is really what we're up against. And people are losing their lives. And not just the detainees. That's what's so stupid and self-defeating about this. Those conservatives would probably say, well, the guards at one of these facilities, those are good people. I mean, they're law enforcement, right? Yeah, they're getting sick. They're dying as well. Because it turns out when you're forced to work in an area where lots of people are being exposed to a fatal illness, you can't necessarily wall off the employees as well. And that's the experience that we've seen in prison after prison from the very beginning of this pandemic. People did a great job of warning in the early days of this pandemic. Like for instance, in Rikers, that was one of the worst outbreaks. This is going to be a disaster, not hindsight, not looking back and saying this went poorly. They warned about it. And people didn't care to do anything. The people with the power to protect all these lives chose not to. And that is why there have been so many cases, so many deaths, people maimed, and all of that. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is, so you don't miss anything.